That sounds cool. Yeah, I always like the combination of the electronic and electric guitar. Actually, on my last two CDs, I have one tune on my first CD, which is called Techno Difficulties, and it's like a techno rock type song. And then I have a song on the other one called Electro Gypsy, which is a guitar violin duet, but underneath a techno type feel. So I always thought that was there are certain elements of like techno music and the electronic stuff that just has a cool vibe to, and then like you said, putting real instruments and musicians over top of that, it brings a little more feel of the organic and, like you said, breathing room. So I would love to hear some of that stuff because she's a great player from what I hear from seeing videos of Hell's Bells and that. So I'm sure that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going on.
All right, cool. Now, we talked a little bit about the writing process, and I know Zeppelin was a big influence for you, obviously. Can you talk about some of the similarities between your writing style and the Zeppelin catalog? Because Zeppelin does cover quite a few genres in their catalog. So is there a lot of similarities, and what are some of the differences? I know the techno stuff is quite different, but can you talk about the writing process and how it compares to what people may know of you from the Zeppelin band?
Yeah, I feel that, Zeppelin is such it's kind of like an additional blood I have running through my veins. Since the first time I heard Zeppelin, it's just been, it's transformative to me. And I just love I love the way the records sound. I love the way his voice sounds. I love the way the instruments kind of breathe together and speak to each other. I love the power of it and the beauty and the sentimentality of some of the songs. As far as how it influences my writing, I don't really do anything I would say that sounds like Zeppelin. I can't think of. I think that, if I play drums for people, I think that there are a lot of Zeppelin elements that come in. If I'm playing odd times, I like it to feel like four, and that's what Bonham did. And I like the idea of odd arrangements where they're going to go 7 times instead of 8, and I like the idea of dropping instruments out and then bringing them back in. I like the idea of the vocal imitating the guitar, those kind of things. But I don't think that sounds like I don't think anything I do sounds like Zeppelin.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Maybe there's a drum beat or two that I could play. Like a couple times I've been hired to do drums on a song, and somebody will say play it like Zeppelin, and then I can play it like Zeppelin,
Right.
And but beyond that, I think I don't know. I have such a wide range of stuff that I love, and because I'm such a lyricist, that kind of writer, people like Tom Waits are huge influences on me, and Bob Dylan, and just the Leonard Cohen, the great word people.
Right. Yeah.
And from them, I learned that it really is not about. It's about conveying the story. So
right.
I think that's a little different than Zeppelin a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because at least in the some of the earlier Zeppelin, there's a lot more mystical elements, which
it was more about they create more of a mood than a story. I would say you get to step into the mood and create your own story in it.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your coaching business, because I think this is fascinating. And could you just first explain what you do and then what led to that? Because you had said it's been like 30 years of an interest, and same with me in this type of stuff. I mean, as a teenager, this stuff kind of grabbed me, and since then, been studying and practicing that type of stuff, the meditation, and trying to. Well, I think as a musician, you can feel it, the different energies in music, and when you're writing and composing, at least for me, it's about the energy and how it feels. It tells me if this is the right part or the wrong part for the song. There's no second guessing. Yeah, that might sound cool and it might work, but that's not the right part for this song. It's not something that I have to labor over to make that decision. So can you talk a little bit about what you do and what led you to that?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with what led me to it first. So I, in my very early 20s, well, first of all, I think I've always been kind of a mystical person. I've always been I think maybe it's the writer in me, always been a little bit on the outside looking in
Right.
to life, and fascinated by any sort of thing that even hinted at a different way of being in reality than the one that we see before our eyes.
Yeah.
So in my early 20s, I went to my first 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. Vipassana is it's an incredible organization started by this man from Burma, actually, called S.N. Goenka. And basically, you go to a retreat center. There used to be, for so long, there were 4 in the United States, but now I think there are more. And I think there are about 200 across the world. And they're all run exactly the same. You go in and you take a vow of silence for 10 days, 9 days, 9 or 10 days. You're there for 10 days or 11. I can't remember how long together. I've done 5 of them. But so you go in, you take a vow of silence, which a vow of silence means not only not speaking, but it means not gesturing, not, just trying to be in this space right here and trying to let others be in their space as well. It's all donation only, which for me, that means a lot, that you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to go. You're fed and housed, and basically you meditate for about 10 or 11 hours a day, not all at once. The longest meditation that you're asked to sit in without moving is an hour. There are 3 of those a day. The rest of the time you kind of can do as much or as little as you want, really, but it's profound. Because when you go do a meditation retreat like that, and basically the whole retreat is just teaching you the technique of meditation. It's one technique. It's called, what is it called? I'm blanking on the term, but it's the meditation where you learn to scan sensation on your body and bring it back up. So it's not a mantra-based meditation.
Right.
There's no, nobody's burning incense, and there's no hippie stuff, and there's plenty of people from every walk of life at these things. So for any of your listeners, if you're considering doing this, I would highly recommend it. What happens during the 10 days, the biggest thing that happens is that suddenly your internal voice, the one that you think you have many voices telling you stories going forward and back in time and all of that stuff, that chaos up here, becomes one big voice, like one big megaphone, and you start being able to hear it. And then you start being able to separate yourself from that voice and fall underneath that voice and observe it. And once you can observe your internal voice, once you separate from your internal voice, you realize my thoughts are not me. We think our thoughts are us, our emotions are us, our personality. We think this is Clementine. She loves to play drums, and she has all of her history and all of her stories and this crazy monkey mind that's running constantly, bringing me forward and back in time. My emotions, I'm a peaceful person, I'm an angry person, I'm a this person, that person, all those things. I think that's me.
Right.
But then if you think about a time in your life, maybe when you were the most stressed, like maybe you were in an accident and all you could do was think about the very moment at hand. You couldn't, it's like you're so highly focused. When you look at that time, and some people have this when they're waking or going to sleep or have different experiences with this, sometimes playing music.
Yeah.
When you look at that, you realize that you can ask yourself, who is watching? So who's watching Clementine walk down the street? Who's watching her make that decision? Who is watching her in that car accident lie there, and breathing and scanning her body and seeing if she was okay? Who's watching? And so what I do is I show you how to find the watcher. When you find that, and so my idea, or it's not my idea, it's an ancient idea, but the one that I prescribe to is that we are all infinite beings. We are all this infinite consciousness at the base of the personality, at the base of everything.
Right.
And when you fall into that place, it's a place of truth. And a place of, it's like in that place, what's right. Like you were talking about music, like you just know, it's a deep knowing.
Yeah.
That place to me is the true self. This is the false self. This Clementine, that's the false self. When I die, this Clementine will be set aside like a pile of clothes. But this other thing, this other being, this other consciousness, that to me, and what I believe is that continues. So, so tapping into that is like tapping into your own truth, tapping into what Eckhart Tolle would call the now.
Yeah. I was just going to bring that up. What you're talking about sounds a lot like what he's talking about.
He speaks the same stuff.
Yeah. The observer. Can you be the one observing yourself and focusing on the now? And I think that is easier said than done for so many people in this day and age. And something like you were talking about, a retreat where that's the main focus. You're surrounded by people doing the same thing. Over time, you're going to experience, like you said, that difference between that voice that you think is you, and you can objectively listen to it as something that is not really you. It's hard to put into words sometimes, but
yeah, it is. Well, the beautiful thing about a retreat is that, it's like, you feel like you're a baby being taken care of. Everything is taken care of for you, and so, it's a special place where you can go. But very few people can take 10 or 11 days out of their lives to go and do that.
Yeah.
You're cut off. You don't know anything from the outside world. Nobody's telling you. I was there during the first presidential election when Obama was elected. Like, I came out of there, I didn't know what would happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But I think that once you find that place, and I think in fact, I know that I can show you where that place is in just a few moments. Once you find that place, there are ways to keep finding that all day long. And then if you want to set aside 5 or 10 minutes, it's just like music. Every little tiny bit expands and becomes exponential. You play for 15 minutes a day in a month, your playing will be beyond if you had spent 2 days spending, 3 hours in that day, right?
Exactly.
So
I say that all the time to
it,
my
yeah.
students. It's the consistency and growing forth. And also, like, once you do find that place, like you said, it's easier to return to once you've experienced it. And that's what I think a lot of people may hear this who haven't experienced it, and it kind of seems out there or untouchable to them because they've yet to experience it. But if they have someone to help them get to that place and they can tune into that, I mean, for creativity purposes, that's amazing. But also just you have to use your creative mind to make life decisions every day. You know, that can be such a useful place to be able to go to navigate yourself through life in general, whether it's creative or whether it's just daily tasks, you know.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about being in that place is that it's always there.
Yeah.
The Buddhists say it's as if you're looking at a lake where the moon is shining on and the lake is turbulent. Doesn't mean the reflection of the moon isn't always there.
Right.
It's just that the surface of the lake is cloudy.
Yeah.
So it's always there. It's our true being.
Yeah.
And in that place, there are no problems. There are no. In that place is it's joy and truth, and those issues, and you have to do all of this stuff to live in the world. It's pretty amazing how much of our time is spent not here and worrying about what's coming.
Yeah.
When a lot of times we can't even do anything about it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
We spend so much time, so much energy. Like recently I've been doing, I did some meditations and I realized at the core of me, I was just so tired, like bone tired to the core. And I realized, it's fatiguing to keep this edifice of Clementine up. It's fatiguing to create what I try to create when, it really is all kind of an illusion.
Yeah.
So finding that place, I believe everybody knows it. I believe everybody has found it at some point. Everybody has peeked through. As a child,
Yeah.
I mean, think of yourself as the youngest that you can remember. What was at the bottom of that? What was at the bottom of you? When you think about that little being walking before all of the stuff got piled on, like, who was that? So I think we all know it. And most of the time when I work with people, musicians or not, everybody pretty instantly recognizes it. It's not a big secret.
Yeah.
It's just the mind. Once the mind and the ego start to get wise to the fact that you've figured it out, that you've figured out that they actually aren't as important as they've been telling you that they are, then that's when you need some guidance to try to help, decipher the mind telling you, my mind will tell me that I'll die. If I let go of Clementine completely, it tells me I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
So I've just worked to just not worry about being dead.
Right. There you go.
It's like, all right, so I'm dead.
Yeah.
Big deal. Happy. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you have specific meditations, like when a client comes to you? Do you have specific meditations that you have set aside, or do you spontaneously do a guided meditation dealing specifically what they are working through? Or can you kind of describe what the process may look like when someone comes to you?
Yeah, I think the first thing I think that I generally do is we do a meditation. I have several that, depending on what the language I feel that somebody can connect with. And then once they can kind of find that place, then maybe we'll bring up some issues that they're, that they're dealing with. For instance, I have somebody I work with who wants to be more free and improvising.
Mm-hmm.
And so once they're in that place, then in their mind, they start to improvise. And okay, so what comes up? And you'll notice that your body is the truth teller. If you were to close your eyes right now and were to say, my name is Rod, and just feel your body. And then if you were in your mind, say, my name is Alice. And then just feel, did anything happen in your body? Was there a little twingy something? And most people feel that. The body is the truth teller.
I actually use a similar technique when I need to make decisions, where my mind is going back and forth, and at that moment you may not know which voice to listen to. I do a similar thing, and like you said, you feel it in your body.
You feel the truth. Yeah. So you're already connected to that to that truth.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, when I'm composing, that's the easiest place for me to be in contact with that.
Mm-hmm.
When daily life is going around you at 100 miles an hour, sometimes it's not as easy to connect to that.
It's easy to get carried away.
Yeah, I know that it's there. And if I consciously remember that, I can connect to it. But sometimes you just get caught up in everything swimming around you. Yeah.
Well, just realize that when you remember, when you're like consciously like swimming around and everything's going, when you remember to, just all you have to do is take a deep breath. Yeah. Take a deep breath all the way down, and then just let it out. By taking a deep breath, you activate the vagus nerve, which is the big nerve that runs down the center of your body, and it connects to all of your organs, your brain, your heart, your liver, everything.
Yeah.
And when you activate that, it shuts off the fight or flight instinct. So all you need to do in order to just chill out for a minute in your body and in your mind is to take a really deep breath.
Right. It's like a reset button almost. That helps. Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, and then once you know that, as you do that true self place, that kind of infinite open space where, there is no emotion or thought. Once you do that, then you can imagine during your day to just like breathe deep, take a deep breath, and then just as you breathe out, just fall into that place. Feel the space in your body. Feel the space, between your skin, basically, and fall into that open place. Then that idea of having to go to a 10-day meditation retreat goes out the window. You've already had it. You have it right there. You're there,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this searching and training that you've done over the past 30 years that you're talking about, has it brought up any unexpected changes or brought you to some unexpected places that, looking back at your thoughts and beliefs as a teenager or someone in their young 20s before you started this journey, now looking at your life and where you're at now, you're like, wow, I never would have guessed this is where or how I would be,
Yeah, I would say that about my whole life. I think that, I remember when I first learned to drive, I specifically remember this one drive, and getting in the car and just going for a drive. I just learned, just got my license. First time I could just get out, get away, riding around and feeling as if I really didn't know why I was going to keep living. Being so just lost and so filled with just, teenage angst and then just angst, and being so unhappy. I mean, just deeply dark and unhappy. And I remember driving and I remember hearing AC/DC. and Back in Black. And I remember thinking, okay, at least there's AC/DC, at least. And then years later, I found drumming. I started playing drums when I was 27. It was a total fluke. And I'd never expected to be a musician. I never expected to live in San Francisco. I never expected to play John Bonham stuff. It just like all of it is, kind of crazy that it all happened that way. But when I first started playing in an AC/DC band where I met Gretchen, the first show, I just flashed to that girl driving around, so limited in her scope, so just powerfully unhappy, and thinking, oh my God, she would have been so happy. She would have just thought like, yay,
Yeah.
So I've also been thinking about, lately I've been thinking about the tools that we're given, and how sometimes we forget we have those tools, going through, in my life, going through bouts of depression, and then like waking up and being like, but I have the tool. I can see my thoughts. I can fall into the true self. Like, why, it's why have I gotten carried away by the
Yeah.
ego and by this stuff, So that's been a big learning. When I was 21 years old, I met my mentor, who continues to be my mentor, and she has taught me, so much. But when I met her when I was, I guess, 22, I thought, that's who I want to be like. That's the woman who's timeless, always learning, always seeking, always growing, gets pure joy in life. And so I would say I modeled myself after her path, without even knowing it.
Right.
But, so there have been those people along the way that have kind of shown the way. But yeah, it's just such an interesting journey, isn't it? It's like,
it is. Yeah.
yeah.
And like you said, when you meet people like that, and you're there with them face to face, it shows that something that may have seemed out of reach to you may now seem, oh, it is possible, and that gives you like a little hope, or just the fact that you now realize it is possible. It changes your whole mindset, which then really can affect the decisions you make in your life, which take you down the road. And I think that's something that's real important. Having a healthy mindset really affects the choices you make in life, which will lead you down one path or another. And one path can lead to more happiness, and one path can lead to unhappiness, So I think that's real important. And that type of change in the mindset, by seeing someone who is living it, they're right here in front of you, and doing that, I think that can, just experiencing that can be a big turning point for some people,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And also realizing that, a lot of times that you learn the most from challenges.
Yeah.
If I hadn't had a streak of, tendency towards depression, then maybe I wouldn't have ever understood, the other side of life. Maybe I wouldn't have been in a metal band, maybe I wouldn't have been, it's like, maybe I wouldn't have, those times of real stress and challenge. I mean, I remember when I went to my first meditation retreat, and, I was in so much pain because you got to sit for so long, and you're trying to sit without moving. And it was agony to sit on the floor for so long. And, I remember the teacher saying, one day you're going to appreciate the pain. You're going to look forward to the pain. Pain, good. It's something to observe, something to look. And I thought it was nuts. I thought there was no way in hell I would ever look forward to it. And now I kind of look forward to the challenge.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that guy cut me off in traffic. Well, let me watch myself get all bubbled up. Let me ask myself, like, why does Clementine think she has the right of way? Well, let me laugh with the absurdity of wasting valuable, like, energy on getting stressed out over something like that. Let me watch as I sink back down. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just all these little things are now challenges you look forward to. So, maybe those choices that you make that take you down the wrong road, as long as you're conscious about, the challenge of it and finding that place underneath the mind, I think, we always carry through to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very cool. All right.
All right.
So, what do you see like the foreseeable future for you? I know you have all those projects going on, plus Zepparella. What do you see? What's coming up for you in the next couple years? Like, I know you with Zepparella, you guys have done some pretty big shows. Like you had Steve Vai sit in with you, and you do a lot of really cool venues and some festivals and that. Anything that stands out coming up that's on the schedule?
Yeah, I don't, let's see. Well, we're going to Chicago, St. Louis, and Indianapolis in a couple weeks, and we're really looking forward to that, seeing
That's
some good
cool.
friends there. And then, one goal that I have for Zepparella that has so far been out of reach is to get to Europe.
Oh yeah, that'd
Um,
be great.
yeah, so that would be great to make happen. So, we'll see how that pans out.
Wow, yeah,
But yeah, yeah, I wouldn't even hesitate to get. I mean, I hesitate to even guess at what's coming up because
yeah.
that kind of goes against my whole thing.
Right, right, right. Now, doing that acoustic duo that you were talking about, I'm sure uh, that can be both exhilarating and a little nerve-wracking too.
Oh my God, it's terrifying. Before I go up to sing, I'm so ridiculous. I just become like my whole body starts to shake and like I start to like look for ways to escape,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and it's really ridiculous. Now it's become kind of funny.
yeah,
To me. And now I just use it. It's like, okay, well, your whole body is shaking. So why don't you use that energy to kind of try to sing well,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's great.
Um, yeah. So, and again, like, with singing, it's been so frustrating because, it is all this old emotional baggage that is drawn into it. The girl in fourth grade who told me that she hated my voice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's just like, just like, it's like a megaphone. It's like,
Oh yeah.
so it's all about, finding your way through all of that debris of noise and just falling in and just saying, okay, this is what is going to happen now, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
That's great. I've gone through a similar thing. I've been a full-time musician for a long time, and I never sang. I just, nope, I don't sing. I
uh-huh,
would be the one writing the harmonies and all
uh-huh,
that stuff, but I just didn't feel I had the control or the tone or anything like that. And then I moved across the country and putting something together in a smaller town where we have great musicians, but the pool isn't as big. It's much harder to find a bass player who can sing or a drummer
uh,
that can sing. When I know I'm going to have like three drummers I have to work with, I would have to find and three bass players, that I have to call. Are you available this day? So
uh-huh,
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to sing. So I didn't
uh-huh.
start singing until like 2 years ago, and almost 2 years ago, and it's it's a mind game because you're like, okay, I can get up and I can play and not have a problem. Now I got to sing in public, and my first time singing in public was at a festival with Robert Cray, Lost Lonely Boys, Pat Travers, and it's like I should have picked a corner bar to do this at first, But luckily it was a good monitor mix; I could hear myself. But yeah, you learn. Like for me personally, I had to be okay with not being perfect and sucking.
Yeah,
I'm still alive. Okay, yeah, I was flat on that note, but I didn't die. You see that?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like you almost have to I forced myself into those situations. Like there's an acoustic open mic that I would go to, so I didn't have anything to hide behind. Me, my acoustic guitar, and vocal, and I'd pick songs that I just learned like that day or a couple days ago, because I had to force myself with being okay with not being perfect, to allow myself to do this. And it was like you said, you go back through all those things and you trace it back to when you're a kid. You know, when did I decide I wasn't going to sing? Oh, it was at that time. You know, and it's a whole set of challenges, but like you said, it's an opportunity to grow and open up yourself to different things. So yeah, so that would be great. Acoustic duo, you get now the singing.
Yeah, I think you might be much braver than I.
No, I don't think so. But
you're very brave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's great. Well, I really appreciate you. This was a great talk for me, a fun time, and I look forward to getting to see you guys again. You were great,
Rob.
And if you get to tour with the acoustic duo, I'd love to see that too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Gosh, thanks for the nice questions and all the nice words. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great, and like I said, I hope to see you again soon, playing live.
Me too, and maybe we'll have another late night hang with the Zepparella girls.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
All right, thanks, man. Have a great day.
Okay, see you later.
All right, take care.